A few seconds here. Okay, we'll grab one of these just for when the mood hits. Where's my lighter? Everything got that on me. All right, pardon me. Take a quick pass. Join this group and joined on this particular piece yet. Let's see. Let me edit. Oh, there we go. There it came up. Yes. Right. Let's back out of these. Come back here. I think I've hit all those. All right, let's go on. So, got this cool little Axial Ryft. And I need some eyes to see a little better. And we got a Treal Sway Bar in black to put on. Now I had tried the Vanquish Yeti XL Sway Bar, and it just wasn't big enough. Bomber or Yeti. I see Exo Cage. I'm forgetting his name off the top of my head. Anyways, I see he it's not in the way at all. Get up there this way. There we go. I can see his name, but I can't think of it. Anyways, he used the front bomber from Hot Racing, the front bomber Sway Bar. He said that seemed to work pretty good for him. I tried the Vanquish for the Yeti XL, and it was just too short. The arms were too short. They didn't come nowhere near far enough back to get over across the arms or over top of the axle. Sorry, three things, one brain. Couldn't even get over top the axle. It was just way too short, inch maybe. So your links were kind of at a 45, and it didn't take much bouncing before they moved off to the side, and it just wasn't going to work. Now, there's everybody who's got a Ryft, who has looked at double shocks on the rear, has realized that if you want to do double shocks on the rear, you basically have to remove the sway bar cap, or else it hits in the shock and gets in the way, and you ain't going to get it. Ain't gonna happen. So you have to take the sway bar caps off, which means you basically cannot run the sway bar, as well as this way, and a little easier. You see how I'm getting in there without all this disassembly stuff. A lot of times there's ways of doing things without taking anything else apart. And this is how you would remove those caps and install them. But if you wanted to run dual shocks, the rear cap mount here is in the way. And it's pretty much just the one end of it. These are for the vanquish thing. I gotta pop those out and stick those in that bag so they're with it now. I put some pieces of rubber over top of it just to help squeeze it in place and take out the crap. Probably in there somewhere. Don't see it. Might have fell out. I'll find it somewhere, but nonetheless, put the caps here for a bit. Actually, I'll slide these over there because I shouldn't need them with this thing. But yeah, it's hitting on, as that thing's up there mounted, it's kind of rubbing on the outer. You can't see that. It's up there mounted. It's rubbing, as everybody knows, on this edge here. It's hitting that edge. There's one way I can see that might be a solution to allow you to mount the sway bar as well as run dual shocks and not have this cap piece be in the way. There's two ways of doing it. The second way would involve a lot of modifications, and I'll go over that real quick. It would involve cutting this whole thing right off, either here and leaving this plate piece, underneath here, this plate, leaving cutting these top nubs off and this U piece all the way off, and then making a mount and mounting using this plate now as a mount to screw to use it as a holder, and mount a new piece of sway bar mount out here. So it's out on the outer cage, and that would be the plate where you screw and put a couple of screws and a couple of nuts to hold it into place and lock it down solid to this part of the cage. But the sway bar mount would actually be out a little farther here. You do that on both sides. Now that's totally out of the way. Your dual shocks will be able to mount where in that upper forward mount position on both upper and lower rear shocks. The other option, which is less evasive, which is the first option, would be to take a piece of metal, which I'm going to try. It's got these kind of pieces of steel, and basically just bend a U-clamp. Bend it so it's around, and then it's got just a little, tab, and it comes up and just kind of sandwiches around. Like, you can take that and right around in a circle, and then another flat edge here with a couple, 2 holes. Would be the way to do it, so you can put 2 bolts and nuts in there. But a small metal, solid metal, aluminum would probably work. 60, 61 would probably be okay, but 70, 75 would be better. And a nice milled U-clamp. It's small, but I think that little bit of clearance would be enough to actually allow mounting of the second shocks. But like I say, the true fix, in my opinion, and I'm not sure why they didn't do this, and when they made this mold, they should have just made the molds right on the back part of this cage. It's already a part of the cage. They should have just molded it right into the back part of the cage instead of the crossbar. Added some strength and gusseting around the mount area and that, just to beef it up a little bit to help hold that sway bar, and the torque is good. But instead of putting them in 15 millimeters where they're right in the way of the shock system, they should have just ran it out here. This is something in design that they missed on this thing. So if you're looking, axial guys, axial ladies and gentlemen, take this part and change the mold and put it right at the cage. Yeah, it's going to require maybe a little redesign, obviously, of the molds, but a redesign of the sway bar too. But people can't use, if you want to run a dual shock system, you're not possible doing it. Maybe you're not possible doing it because of the way the shocks are set up as designed, but it looks like there's enough room for two shocks to mount and clear each other. Especially if you're running one for a backup shock without springs, but you should be able to get two shocks of springs, plenty of room in there. If the sway bar mounts were in the way. Now I get the idea, okay, if you're running two shocks, you probably don't need the sway bar, or maybe don't want it, but maybe you do. Maybe you want to run both in that front all the way position and want sway bar. So you don't want one shock, but you can't, because you can't mount the sway bar caps in place without interfering with the shocks when you're using both forward positions. So, well, forward positions. So for the folks that, over there at Axial, that's something you might want to do. Possibility, make this lower. These nubs don't have to stick out that far. Just make the U part just in the bottom of the U, right at the back of the plate right here on this plate. Even if you drop that down, I think that would move this cap in far enough, it would be out of the way. And that may be a little bit easier thing to do on the mold, is fill it in and redesign this, drop the whole damn thing. That's something I might try. Maybe I'll try cutting that off and then whittling that out and doing that, just to move it in a little bit, before I try the metal thing, because it's going to be kind of going to heat this all up and get it all bent in place in the right position. It's going to be kind of a pain to do. But that would be one solution. I guess cutting these down and just moving that in, that 4 or 5 millimeters would probably actually be enough. So we may try that at some point too. But yeah, with these caps in the way, they're in the way. So thoughts and gripes on what's going on there. Yes, when I set the motor in and set everything up, I ensured that I would miss with the sway bar mount, so I could mount the sway bar and it would be out of the way of the motor system. Even if I were to drop this, like I just mentioned, and trim these sway bar mounts lower and recut the inside area, it would still work. So let's get into our Treal bag of fun. It's a Treal bag of fun. And of course, nice stickers. Everybody always shows that. No big deal. There's one thing here I may do differently, or I may go pick up, because it looks like they got a nice chunk of steel for the crossbar. So I don't know that it's spring steel. It could be. Can't tell. A lot of times spring steel's not. So what I might do is, how big is that? That's a 2.5, and I think this is a 3. Yeah, I may go buy a 3 millimeter. So what I did with the Yeti piece is I didn't like this cross steel it used, so I went and picked up a long Allen wrench, Eklund, from the local Ace, 2.5 millimeter, I believe it was, and used that because I needed a longer one because the one that came with the Yeti wasn't long enough. Now this one's going to be long enough, but I don't know if it's spring steel. So if it doesn't look like it's spring steel and you want to put spring steel in, just go to your local Ace Hardware or True Value, look for a T-handled Eklund or any brand, you know, decent quality brand anyways. Long-handled T-wrench that's got at least enough handle to cover this, which is, you know, what, 7 inches probably, maybe 6.5, 6 3/4, 6 5/8 inches, but long enough. Cut off that hex, you know, part of that Allen hex, whatever length you need it, and that's spring steel, and that's some strong, uses some really strong stuff, so it will really add some torsion and tension, and but still allow a little bounce without twisting and locking this possibly solid steel, non-spring steel, into a twisted position. Therefore, it's always going to be slipping on you and uneven. You know, it's got flats in it, but if it's twisted, your flat's going to come off and your arms are going to start being uneven. So if you need spring steel, long Allen wrench. So let's see what else we got here. I like that they've already pretty much pre-assembled. You really don't need to do nothing. These are pretty nice pieces. Nice laser etched on there, anodized black, and then re-machined on one edge just to give it a clean look. A couple Allen, nice looks like M3, M4 Allen heads. Real nice smooth operating balls. Yeah, these are pretty nice, and of course these are going to be directional. Yeah, they go. Yeah, there we go. This. You got, you know, one side in, one side out. That's your direction. Let's go like that. Let's get this one out. That bag. Mount and bearings. So bearing has one side that's got a, or the collar, the spindle collar. It's one side that's flat, one side that's cup. Cup side gets the flanged bearing. Nice little flanged bearing. Actually, before I do these, let me go ahead and grab them for a quick sec. I have, where did I do that? Put them on the rag. Grab a little bit of moose-lick. Give them a shot. Okay. Soak inside a little bit. Snugly. In the right rotation. Anodizing will eat up a little tolerance, so it's all right that they're snug. I don't mind. I kind of prefer it. Let's go and cook it There's no, you do not get them straight. Let me see if I can maybe use this. Possible. I could get this in here and it will help me keep her lined up. It's close. That worked out great. You probably didn't even see what I did, huh? So I've got the spindle collar, and you get a flange washer. That one was snug. Didn't want to just drop right in. This one's the same way, which is good. Like I say, anodizing is going to take up a little bit of room, and they actually toleranced for that. Okay. I did a lot of anodizing in the 2000s RC stuff. And then I used my shock ball pliers, that in, got her tight, and just slightly worked around to over to this side that's up. All right, went, get it straight, and that one snapped into place. Bam! Now, take this, these go on the outside, and you know, we're going to leave that piece of rubber right up in there. Both hands here for a minute. Okay. They did a nice job. Those cradle right in there. There is absolutely no slop in that cradle. A little side to side, but it right into the stock hold position to hold her in place, and she is a good. Okay. Yeah, a couple turns anyways. You in a couple turns. Go ahead and just see them. Gonna grab the electric driver and do it, but better do it by hand. Tighten her up until she's back snug face to face. Right there she goes. A little tighter to make her snug. Okay. That side, that side. And snug the tighter up the rest of the way. All right. Slide our bar through. Yeah, I think I do want to do it so down. I think that's how. Or is it so they're up? It's upside down on that side. Goes on like that. Okay, so it does it right side up. So let's spin it around. Give her a flip. Give these a swap. Now, let's see my better. I think that's the better one. A better one. It's not too bad. Worse. What's this one? Let's go. Real woppy. Real stroppy. Right. That's, there we go. That one's the better one. There we go. So we need to here see and then adjust this puppy and down. Well, before we do that all the way, we should need to come up a tad. Oops. Grab a little bit of magic juice. It's right there on the edge, isn't it? A little bit of magic juice on here. Okay. And bring her into place. There we go. You know you're in there. Loosen it up just a little bit. there for the minute. Hold you in place. So I'll have to take the other one, set it up. And I got to take these other screws. And I want to do just a little bit on the ends of them too. No, that's the right one. I should be able to use that to get her tight anyways. We snug for now. Just a little bit. That's where it needs to be. Okay. A nice tweak. Put them nice and tight. Won't come loose. Okay. At least they used an M3. It could have big enough. They could have actually went to an M5. Tip for the Treal folks: if you're looking, use an M5 on those. That way you can really get a nice bite. Not gonna worry about stripping them out. Little FYI. Okay, now one last thing to do. Oh, you thought you had to take the wheels off, huh? Well, let me show you some old man tricks. Can't quite get in square, but get in well enough. Slide you out all the way. Let's get you in there. The swivel end is a snug fit into the spot, which is it should be. There we go. Go to the back a little bit. There we are. That should be pretty damn close. got some nice some nice ball tip coming, which would be great for the slightly off angle stuff. At least down to getting it final tight. And I bought some Weehas. You've never heard of them. Weehas are actually pretty decent German made tools. And they're not too badly priced. You know, a lot of people like, you know, MIPs and stuff like that, Vanquish, even the Traxxas tools, some of the other ones that are out there, Huddy and stuff. Those are all nice stuff. They're pricey. They're RC pricey. They don't need to be RC pricey. The Vanquish stuff isn't really all that bad, neither is the MIP, but it's still a little more RC pricey than it needs to be. So if you like Bondhaus, or not, yeah, Bondhaus, that's what I got, not Weeha. I bought Bondhaus, which are German as well. Almost you back in. But Bondhaus, Weeha, they're both good quality pieces with an inexpensive, you know, a not huge cost, even though they are good quality tools made with good carbon steel. Just a little bit, really. I'm gonna wipe off some of that. Just enough on the bottom thread. Okay. That's right, I lost the screw. I gotta put a new one in there. And I lost a couple of them in that. Try a longer one, I guess. Okay. Now, well, what are we doing here? Really snug you out. Yep, sound like a Canadian. Oh, really snug you out. Get all chuffed. What's funny is all these young Canadians just like, oh yeah, we made chuffed. We're the original. No, boys. Chuffed was something we were saying in the 80s in America. You didn't make that up either. Sorry to tell you. But when we said it Usually it wasn't anything, we weren't cool with you choofed after drinking too much. If you had too much pineapple schnapps or peppermint schnapps back in the day, or Boone's Farm or Mad Dog 2020, you choofed like a mofo. We didn't get, we got choofed all right, but yeah, it wasn't excited as you Canadians use it today. You darn kids redefining everything until it has a different meaning. No wonder we can't communicate. What's that? You didn't, your school did that. Yeah, well, that's what schools do. They don't learn you anything, they just teach you. All right, let's go ahead and lock that one back into place and tighten this screw down. Oh, that's right, that screw is loose. I forgot about that. A nut. I could have took that tighter off. Okay. Good Allen wrench. Still on the other side. Give this a tight. There we are. I'm going to set this one aside up here. That's actually pretty nice. Allen key to keep. Don't need that. All right. And Reese trailing arm. Squat it off pretty good. There we go. And like I say, there's just enough room. If I can bring it down like this, you can see right there, just in front. There's a little bit better how far in front of it is. How she sits on the side by the front angle. There we go. Sits above the headers nicely. The only problem I have still, I gotta take care of this unit because you can see on this far side here. Let me flip around. You go down and I hit the header. And moving the header right there. So I'm gonna have to heat that header up a little bit and bend it out up at where it bends out and unbend that edge a little bit because she's just a little too much. So that is something I will have to get to, but yeah, that thing goes in there quite well. Let's see. Let's see if I've got a bit longer one. If I can get a bit longer one in there, maybe it'll work better. This thing is kind of flopping around here. The screw ain't the greatest out here, this bucket. I've mucked it up, stripping it out, I think. Okay. And I think when I get done with this, I'm gonna have to go make popcorn. Somebody was saying something about popcorn the other day, and I didn't Didn't get to it, so I'd better. No popcorn, no peace. Okay. This longer one. A little farther, bite into a little new thread. Yeah, nice and tight. Still gotta do something with that. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, no, I'm okay. So, let's go for plugwood. No, just the center wire so far because I pulled that off before I put it on. Still gotta make the coil. There we are. Light's back in place. I'm not gonna jump in and set up. I gotta get into the box. I'll do that in another spot. Probably do that tomorrow. Take these killer Treal decals out. Figure out which ones to use where. Kind of like these T's and the shield. Kind of nice. I wish I had two of the smaller ones instead of the real small ones. Those look pretty good. These slightly larger ones are right. I'll find a spot on here for these. Maybe I can take and because I moved that down here up front. I'll put one of these T's here, but I'll get a place for those. So yeah, my thoughts on a couple things on the Ryft, what could be done to make it a little bit better. I really think that moving these sway bar mounts out to the edge a little farther. I mean, I guess I can kind of see in some respects lining up. That's kind of why they did them there. Yeah, you can't go too much more shallow because you will run into the cage. So there's only a couple kind of real options that can happen. But something should work a little bit better. There's got to be something in there where we can get both shocks on the rear in both the rear mounts without having to go to weird positions or anything else. But I really think that's going to help set it up a little bit. Go ahead and bring the camera down. We'll get a little bit more ground look. Look and see if it sets at the ground level. Now I don't have any adjustment on the shocks themselves and no preload on the springs. They're all set out at full extension. Of course, the bars even. This is what I was talking about here, where the Yeti arms didn't come out of the loop. The Yeti arms only came out to about here. That's as long as the arm was. So the link mount was here, and of course, if you're looking at it from this side, that's quite a bit of an angle. And you know, it flopped a little bit and wanted to flip backwards. So that wasn't going to work. So yeah, a better look inside from the under the back there. Bring her up and take a look from underneath. See, it sits in there and captures in real nicely. Like I say, if you look, here's right next to the shock mount. Where is that other nut? Right there. That's the shock nut. And if you look right there, that sway bar mount and that cap right there is right in the damn way from getting into those other spots. No, Treal's got another shock mount that gives you a position here. It brings another whole line of spots to mount inside, so I'll probably grab that because that's a nice way of skirting that. You should be able to get over here on the inside, and then, especially if you're running the shock upside down, actually move and miss the sway bar cap mount there. Nice shot, up close shot of the engine. That's just a servo horn, a round plastic servo horn. Green nut ran through it with some shoe glue on the inside of the timing hole cover. Yeah, looks good, man. This thing is a nice piece. I think it was 39 bucks. Took about 12 days. It sat, I ordered it. It shipped out the next day. I had to have air shipped because it showed it had arrived in New York the next morning. 16 hours later, it popped up and showed it had arrived in the States, in Jamaica, New York. And that's the loading dock, export dock. So it had to be checked into customs. So it took 8-10 days to get through customs, and then 5 days to get to me. So it took me 14-16 days from the day I ordered till the day it showed up. It showed up one day last week. I just haven't got to it yet. But there we go. Treal Racing Sway Bar. First item I've added on this. That's from Treal. Some no-name Chinese, chanquish China SSD shocks. 120 millimeters up front, just to kind of add a little bit. If I could find 130 millimeters, I'd go that way. I've got actually limiters, the orange bump stops. I've got those inside the stock shocks, front and rear. Kind of limit how much it actually allows it to droop. So it's not coming out all the way because it should. I've got those bump stops, and there's that stop in 4 or 6 millimeters, but that is the limit on the 120 anyways. So if I had 125, maybe 130 millimeter shocks up front, that may work a little bit better. Another option is to maybe find another place to mount the second shock, maybe a little lower underneath. I see Treal again has these front shock pieces where you can kind of relocate, so you could do that. Bring the front one back, move this one back in here, but it's the same height. It doesn't allow it to drop down. I had one where I can get it 5, 8, and 10 millimeters down. Then this stock shock would do what it needs to do, and this shock would just be the support shock. I'm going to take these off. I think I got 60 weight or 50 weight in them. I'm going to drop that back to 30 or 20 weight. I got half weight, so I may go to like a 27.5. I think I got 30, just to add that little bit of, slow it down a tad without stopping too much of the rebound. And with the back, like I said, if I can get double shocks, great. But if I can't, oh well. All right, it's been about an hour on this one. That's the third one I've done today. So thanks for checking it out. I want to, thank you for seeing what I've got going on here with my RCs. Hit that like, subscribe, share. If you subscribe to me, I'll subscribe back to you. Grow each other's channels. Let's try to get everybody over 1,000 subscribers. Get us all in that little bit of YouTube RC toys money. But yeah, everything I pay for everything. This is nothing's given to me. I don't get anything else. I'm not that lucky. So I gotta work and buy and work. But yeah, Most of these guys do too. Most of these guys. Joe, that's Joe Collins. He, I know he works his ass off and puts out about 1 or 2 videos every day. Plus he has his normal job. So Joe's a hard-working guy over at Axial Ryft. So yeah, there's my Ryft with the new Treal rear sway bar. I think that's really gonna up its ability to handle everything. Tomorrow I'll probably jump in at some point and get into my RX4, add that 3rd channel drag brake adjustment, get that all worked out and figured out. I gotta come up and make a coil pack yet for the distributor, so I'll get a coil pack made up, probably get that painted XL yellow, or I might even do red, like an MTD. I think it is MTD red. Do something that line anyways, and get that put into place. I'll probably start retrimming on this housing here for the guys, the insert, so I have to expose a little bit more of the motor and get the whole thing to bed drop down. Still setting a little high. It's not bad, but these guys' heads are almost sticking out, as you can see there. I gotta get this set lower, and until I trim out for the plug wires here in this area, I just gotta kind of come up in on each side, drop in a little bit, just so it will drop down farther. I ain't gonna be able to do that, so I want to get that done so I can get that locked back into place. The front's in there, the front 2 bolts that would actually hold it. It holds it pretty well. I can get it to fold a little bit, but I want it to set a little bit smoother. So I got to do that yet. But what did I do? Lose my piece, huh? Where that went? My zip strip gone. That's right. I got more, and that's why I got them. Because you're gonna lose parts. Oh, I think I got them on backwards. Anywho, nonetheless, thanks a lot for hanging out. Hit that like, share, subscribe, and we'll talk to you guys later.